Japan's former and longest-serving Prime Minister has been assassinated during a campaign rally. Shinzo Abe was shot at close range while making a speech in Nara in the west of the country. He was taken to hospital by helicopter, but doctors were unable to save him. Police
I
arrested a
remember
41-year-old
walking by
man
the
shortly
TV
after.
in my house, just in passing, and seeing the news. Shinzo Abe assassinated, along with the disturbing footage. It was unbelievable. The name of a world leader in the same headline as the word assassinated. I really believe this was a true historical event, and not just at all like the typical useless and cringe news that we typically get.
It's happened again. Another sign language interpreter accused of signing total gibberish. This time it was a
Are you serious? Like, what is this? I always think of assassinations as near mythological segments of history. Think of Lincoln, Kennedy, Caesar, events that are so legendized, it's hard to ever imagine them happening in real life, but it somehow did. In the great nation of Japan, no less, a place where gun crime is unheard of. But that fact of public safety couldn't save Prime Minister Abe from his unfortunately inventive assassin. It's been over 2 months now, and it seems everyone has moved on. Despite the gravity of the event, it did also seem like the news blew right past it and moved on to other matters. But I definitely have been thinking about the late great Prime Minister for a good while now since it happened. The implications of his death spread beyond Japanese history and geopolitics. I think this may have been a case of life imitating art. Let me explain. A man with a grudge and a homemade gun, a disenchanted veteran taking advantage of poor security. The whole thing was so out of the ordinary that it felt like it was fiction. And as a matter of fact, I think I had seen this fiction before. So let's discuss the 1993 film In the Line of Fire.
I think maybe you're too close to all this, right?
That's why I've got to be there, Lily. I can spot him. I can anticipate him.
By the time you hear this, it'll be over.
Aside from the main point, In the Line of Fire is actually a really solid movie. I recommend watching it. Clint Eastwood gives a solid performance as an aging Secret Service agent who still feels guilt for Jack Kennedy dying on his watch. The direction is good, the supporting cast does well, the writing is serviceable, but the real star of the show was none other than John Malkovich. In perhaps one of his best roles, in my opinion, Malkovich is the bitter ex-CIA assassin who now plans on becoming a presidential assassin, targeting the President of the United States himself. I remember watching this as a young teenager, and I was actually disturbed by this character. The performance is that good. The way he delivers his dialogue, the way he only shows emotion in certain points while he remains cold and heartless at others.
You, wouldn't be interested in selling her, would you?
No, I need it
For what?
to assassinate the president.
What'd you want to do that for, mister?
Why did you kill that bird, asshole?
Without Malkovich as the plotting assassin, this movie would just be okay. The quality of the movie aside, the odd similarities to Shinzo Abe's recent assassination were interesting, to say the least. Oscar Wilde was one of the main proponents of anti-mimesis, or as he describes, life imitates art far more than art imitates life. There are examples of this all around. There must be some kind of truth to it. Protesters dressing like they're on the show Money Heist in the Dali masks, DC Comics predicting the atom bomb, or Michael Mann's masterpiece Heat inspiring the North Hollywood shootout 2 years later. And perhaps Abe's tragic death is another case of this. Let's start with the most obvious similarity, the weapon. In the movie, we see Malkovich methodically create a pistol out of molds. As his character describes it,
It's composite, like plastic.
it has 2 shots. It's small, lightweight, concealable, and its plastic composition won't be caught by metal detectors. Now have a look at the weapon used to kill Shinzo Abe. It's also homemade. It's not exactly plastic or as clean in appearance as the movie version, but it also has 2 shots, and it's also a crude instrument meant to kill in a country where guns are hard to come by. I mean, just look at it. It's like an electric blunderbuss. It's such an odd device. And the similarities just immediately stood out to me when I heard about the details of the event. Aside from that, there are some similarities in the background of the characters. They're not entirely similar, but Mitch Leary is essentially a trained CIA operative, feeling betrayed by his government after years of being used as a killer. He's turning his skills against his country and the president. Tetsuya Yamagami, he was a veteran as well, but in the Japanese Navy, earning the rank of leading seaman. His motives, however, contrast with the movie. He didn't seem too concerned with spiting his country's government as he did with exposing Shinzo Abe's connection to the Unification Church, a Korean new religious movement that Yamagami claimed ruined his family's fortune. Some people even describe it as a cult, as they extorted exuberant amounts of donations from the members of their church, like his mother. So we have two men feeling betrayed by their country in separate circumstances, but feeling similar dissatisfaction that they take to an outrageous extreme, using their own clever methods to build their own gun and assassinate a world leader. Pretty interesting. We do have some peculiar similarities, yes, but of course, we also have some glaring differences. At first, I thought the homemade gun was uncanny enough to cover this topic, and maybe it is, but as I started to look at the differences, I saw that a contrast may be just as important. That may not help my case for anti-mimesis, but it may help us understand In the Line of Fire as a story, as well as see just how historical Shinzo Abe's assassination was. Let's start by comparing the modus operandi. Leary was a theatric character with panache, calling and teasing the Secret Service and Clint Eastwood's character, not unlike the horrific Zodiac killer. But it would appear Yamagami had no interaction and no intention of making a show or bringing any heat on him. And we can also chalk this up to the need for the movie to make drama. Yamagami had no reason to make his presence known and heighten what little security Abe clearly had. And that's another point we need to address: security. In the film, we essentially see John Malkovich become a cold, calculated villain that's able to bypass about every safety measure and castle wall he comes across. Using his tact CIA skills, he's somehow the ultimate match for the Secret Service. Shinzo Abe's detail may have been the ultimate match for even the most blundering assassins. The security was so rail thin that it seemed like the wet bandits from Home Alone probably could have killed Abe if they wanted to.
Hiya, pal. We outsmarted you this time. Get over here.
Looking back at the footage, you can see there's very little separation of Abe from the public areas, and his team is so spread out that they couldn't respond in time, not even to the first shot or the second shot. I know hindsight is 2020, but the safety of Japan ended up being the death of Shinzo Abe because nobody was prepared for any sort of attack on the Prime Minister. Any sort of attack on the Prime Minister, because that kind of violence is just so rare. While both these assassins are similar in that they take advantage of the security that's in their way, the security itself is a remarkable difference that we need to think about. But more monumental than those differences is the outcome. Mitch Leary in the movie, despite his resourcefulness, fails on just about all his goals. Frank Horrigan, Clint Eastwood's character, is able to save the president, redeeming himself in a way. Leary fell off, so to speak, and dies, and it appeared that none of his ideology is spread as a result of the event. The main takeaway in the movie seems to be that Frank is celebrated as a hero, an American hero. It's a happy ending, and 63-year-old Clint Eastwood even gets the girl. Nice. In our real world, though, the ending wasn't happy at all. Prime Minister Abe died within hours of his wounds. Yamagami may have been caught, but his ideas were not. As soon as people heard of his grudge against the Unification Church, many in the media began to renew focus on the group. It seemed the UC was scrutinized for the first time in a long time. Abe's party even announced they were breaking any ties with the UC and announced they would kick out any member who failed to do the same. In the US, coverage began to imply that Yamagami's concerns were valid. Abe dead and the UC exposed and disavowed almost automatically? That sounds like the exact thing the killer wanted. There's even been a fringe of people glorifying him as a noble Robin Hood, sending him gifts and creating a petition for his commutation. It looks like this son of a bitch got exactly what he wanted, which makes me pretty upset. So what do we make of all this? Now that I've gone through all my thoughts, it's still an open question as to whether or not this is a case of anti-mimesis. And while there may be a chance Yamagami watched a Japanese dub of In the Line of Fire on TV and got the idea of making a dual-barrel pistol at home, it's not super likely. Still, I think this is an important video to make. Art is useful in many ways. It can entertain us, yes, for sure. But it can also give us a frame of reference for real-world events. And I believe by comparing a fictional psychopath to a real psychopath, we can understand the event more and maybe gain some new perspective that we would not have had otherwise.
This summer, Clint Eastwood is in the line of fire.
I can say I learned something by watching this movie, again, and contextualizing it with a current event. But I don't want to end this video with more comparison. I want to be straightforward about the death of the former Prime Minister. Regardless of what you think of his beliefs, I hope we can all agree that Abe did not deserve to die. From what I know, he acted with his country's interests in mind, and was always an incredible force on the world stage, representing his country in the best way possible. Let's not give his murderer any recognition beyond the basic reporting. F that guy. If we want to look at the UC Church, do it systematically and appropriately, not haphazardly in a way that makes the jackass look like a hero. He's not. He's absolutely not. He was always the bad guy, and violence was never the answer to his dilemma. That's why we should go forward and honor Shinzo Abe. People may disagree with his views, but his shocking death should serve as a reminder of the adage memento mori. As high up as he was, Shinzo Abe was mortal, as we all are. So let's continue on for him. Rest in peace, Your Excellency.